Hello, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Finish More Music podcast. So this one is called Knowledge Shared is Knowledge Squared. And this is a really important topic because everybody wants to grow. In fact, everybody needs to grow in order to reach their version of success. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the people who share knowledge grow the most. They receive the biggest boosts to their creative journey. I'm going to map all of these out for you a little later in the episode. Whereas people who hold on to their knowledge, people who squirrel it away and keep it to themselves, often due to insecurity and fears, they tend to stunt their growth. They play a smaller game and they often get left behind, and sometimes left behind to a degree that they really don't progress very much with their music in the long run, and then regrettably sometimes they give up. So it's something that's really worth diving into here. Now, for the purposes of this episode, I just want to outline what I'm referring to when I say knowledge. This is information that will help other people to become better music producers. And of course, if you're not a music producer and you happen to have stumbled across this podcast, it could be whatever field or area that you are in. Something that would contribute to the success of others. The type of information you might post in a forum, in a community. Something you might share with your peers at a meetup or a gathering, for example. In the world of music production, that could be technical information, things about mixdown and compressors and EQs. It could be compositional techniques, it could be workflow, things that would have helped you boost your productivity that could help someone else boost their productivity, or help you improve the quality of your music, and would do likewise for somebody else. Now, I've noticed that a fair few people tend to hold on to this knowledge. They kind of keep it to themselves, and it's my observation that this typically comes from a place of insecurity. So an inner conversation that they might have with themselves could go along the lines of something like, if I share the knowledge that I've got, then someone else will get some kind of competitive advantage over me, which means that they'll take all of the opportunities and the success, and I'll miss out on all of that. Therefore, I'm better off just keeping that knowledge and I'll have it to myself and I'll get the advantage. Or maybe it's something along the lines of sharing will mean that somebody's going to imitate me. Somebody's going to take my place, and then you're going to be lost because someone else is you, and therefore you've got nothing else left to give. So let's just think about that one as an example. Like, if I share these pieces of information I've got, then somebody else effectively is sort of stealing all of my ideas, and they're going to run off into the distance with them. What we're talking about here is sharing tips and techniques that have given you the edge from a productivity and quality perspective. And you as an artist, you as an authentic being, are so much more than somebody who is productive and who is producing high quality music. All of your taste and your musical direction and your inspiration and what you fed your muse with, all of your life and your environment and the way you think about music, the totality of who you are and what you have to say through your music and the impact that you have is not predicated on you having some tips and techniques that you can share to help other people grow. This isn't a case of, well, I can either be me and not contribute, or I just disappear as almost this vanilla character amongst vanilla characters because I've contributed to somebody else's success. Both of these things can, and as I'm going to put forward the case for, should exist if you want to optimize your chances of success and as growing as an artist. And if we jump back to the first thing that I talked about, which is where if I give away my information that's making me productive and making my music shine sonically, or my tips on writing melodies or whatever it might be that have helped me that I've learned, then if I give that away, someone's got a competitive advantage and they're going to snap up all of the opportunities and success and I won't be able to get it. Well, if we think along those lines, it simply means that you are operating from a place of scarcity and not operating from a place of abundance. You view things as being scarce. There's not much to go around. Like suddenly there isn't going to be enough labels to sign your music. There's not going to be enough people to listen to your music. But you are not competing for an audience of one. Last year, 108 billion hours of music was listened to on Spotify. Wrap your head around that, 108 billion. So are you saying that, well, that's the cap? There couldn't possibly have been 108 billion hours and 6 minutes for my tune, or even a few hours. There's plenty of room at the table for you. There's plenty of room at the table for everybody to succeed and get their music out there. There are plenty of labels. There are new labels cropping up. There are more and more people getting into electronic music. Music in general, it's more accessible than it's ever been. There's plenty of room at the table for you. And actually, it's by not sharing that you are giving away any imagined competitive advantage, because the very act of sharing, it deepens your understanding. You learn about the gaps in your knowledge when you share information. I thought I understood that, but now I've come to try and explain it. I'm not sure I've quite got the gist of it. You get other people's perspective on it. It helps you to build your network. You're in the conversation. You're talking to people. And overall, it makes you, via all of these things, a significantly better music producer. And if there was such a thing as a competitive advantage, then by sharing, you'll be getting ahead of the people who are doing what you're doing now and holding on to their knowledge. Think of it like this. Who is likely to be the better music producer in the long run, who achieves more success and avails of more opportunities? A person who is struggling away on their own, fearful, living in a world of scarcity, fearful that sharing their knowledge is gonna somehow leave them behind, or the person who is part of a group of people who are all contributing together, all supporting each other, all lifting each other up on their journey towards success? Who's likely to get the opportunities and the success? It's a no-brainer, right? So let's think about that. Let's think about these benefits of sharing. What actually can you get by sharing your knowledge? What is going to move the needle for you and move you further along on your journey? You're most likely going to get success, your version of success. What's important to you? Everybody can have their version of success, no problem. So first and foremost, contributing makes you feel good. Now, I did a podcast episode a while back called Some People Don't Do Well Because They Don't Feel Well. Contributing to other people's success, contributing to society, contributing to the environment, it inherently makes us feel good. And who's likely to go on to do great things? Someone who feels good or someone who feels fearful? Someone full of positive emotions and optimism, or someone full of negative emotions and pessimism? It makes you feel good. Now, as I mentioned, when one person shares, two people learn. Sharing your knowledge and explaining it to somebody else has been proven as the most effective, the single most effective way to deepen your knowledge about a subject. When one person shares, two people learn. Or when one person teaches, two people learn. Because the very act of explaining something makes us realise, hey, I didn't quite get that. Or sometimes when you explain it in a different way and you get it even more than you thought you'd already got it. So I totally had my finger on the pulse with this. I had this figured out. And you go like, actually, you know what? I'd kind of missed that. Or I'm missing a piece here. Where am I going to figure out that missing piece? Who could help? It's an incredible way to deepen your knowledge. And if you share something, and I'll use the community angle as a really good example of this. When somebody shares something inside of the Finish More Music community, they come in, they go, hey, I've got this, I've learned this thing and it's helped me massively. It's like boosted my productivity, the amount that I'm getting tracks out, or it's boosted the number of tracks I've got that are getting signed, or the quality of my mix down, whatever it might be. They share something and everyone is, of course, lit up. Like, that is amazing. Thank you. I'm going to be able to use that as well. What tends to happen is other people in the comments say, hey, you know what? And I've learned this thing that gets that outcome as well. This thing that boosts productivity, this thing that increases mix down. The very act of sharing opens up a debate where even more ideas come in, and multiples of what the person shared comes back at them just in that thread and in that conversation. And they get a whole range of different perspectives from people. So it may be that it isn't a case that there are brand new ways of doing something that comes out, but people are looking at it in a different light. And so you're getting a much more holistic view of the information, and it's going to stick in your memory more, and you're going to be able to apply it perhaps in different ways as a result of it. And then, of course, there's the whole thing around building connections. It gets you in the conversation. If you're somebody who goes onto forums or you're in communities and you're like, oh, I'll just keep myself to myself here, and you absolutely have something to share. If you think you've got nothing to share, trust me. You know, I always say this when we're doing our live Q&As in the community. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because everything is easy when you have the answer. And the amount of times somebody asks something and then someone else goes, oh, I'm so glad that you asked that. You know, that comes up so many times. Well, people will be so glad that you shared something. It's only easy to you because you know it now. Before you knew it, you'd have been glad if someone shared it, right? So everyone's got something to share. And when you do, it builds your connections. It gets you into the conversation. And more than that, people love, and you do too, of course, someone who is generous. Like someone who's consistently generous, who's selfless, who's kind, who's compassionate to people. You absolutely love people like that. You want to connect with them. You want to help lift them up as much as they are helping lift everybody else up. Now, someone in particular comes to my mind when I talk about this. In fact, I could list a whole bunch of people in the community. I'm going to pick one person in particular, a gentleman by the name of Mark Allen. So Mark has been on this podcast. His producer name is Riggs, RIIGS. He writes amazing music. If you're into your melodic electronic music, dance floor, or just sitting back listening to it, like beautiful, beautiful tracks. This is Riggs on Instagram, like really great music. Mark's like a real shining light in our community. He makes lots of posts in the community. He helps lots of people. He's in the conversation a lot. And he's really generous with his time and his knowledge. Hey, this is how I do something. This is my approach to it. This is what's given me the edge. Maybe it will give you the edge too. Now, as a result of that, when Mark makes a post in the community, and there's sort of been a few of late that spring to mind, people are jumping in there because they want to help as well. Like Mark gets loads of incredible information, some of the most popular posts we see. And as a result, and of course, as you know, part of the totality, he's also incredibly committed and dedicated to his music, has a whole host of other great attributes. But also, in amongst that mix of things, his progress has been exponential. And a part of that is the sharing of knowledge. Knowledge shared is knowledge squared. He's learning a whole bunch more. He's building a bunch. He's one of the most connected people in the community. And a lot of that comes from helping, giving answers, sharing knowledge, being selfless. It's such a superpower to have. It is not something that is going to hold you back. It's something that is going to propel you forward. And the other thing is that if you are someone who is willing to share, you are also going to be more receptive to the idea of collaborating. And this is one of the things that we're huge on. And it never ceases to amaze me how people in our community, we do, but put this into context, we do different challenges. Some of them lead to people releasing music. Some of them we give them sort of creative concepts, ways of thinking about music to collaborate on that's going to push their skill sets, open up their creative thinking, their critical listening skills, their problem solving skills, all of these different things. And often people are a little bit kind of shy about collaborating when they first join. Not everyone, of course, but some people are like, oh, who am I to be collaborating? And then they get in the mix, and we're very supportive. We don't ever, put a foot on someone and push them in at all, but we're very supportive and recommend people doing it. And everyone's like, yeah, get involved. I'd love to work with you. When people collaborate, they take so much from it because of the skill sharing, the workflow sharing, the knowledge sharing, as well as, of course, the creative ideas and the new ways of looking at things. And nobody comes away from a collaboration going, oh, well, that's it, somebody else sounds like me now. No, the two authentic selves come together, almost like that idea of the third record, right? You mix two records and a third record appears. It's like that. A whole new identity comes out, independent of the authentic identities of the people in the collaboration. And all that comes out of it is positives. There isn't a negative situation where I gave this piece of information away and therefore I'm somehow behind. Never, not once, never happened. Not in a squillion times that we've done it, right? So here's the punchline, right? Information shared is information squared. Knowledge shared is knowledge squared. Tips and tricks alone do not make you a great music producer. There is so much more to creativity than that. There's only one you. You can't be devalued or imitated in any way because you share the things that are helping you to grow. You can't be devalued in any way because you contribute to the growth and the success of other people. The exact opposite is true. By contributing to others, you will deepen your knowledge. You're going to feel great, more motivated, more optimistic. You're going to be part of the conversation. You're going to build these contacts. You're going to be seen. People are going to want to help you more, help to lift you up. You're going to get more techniques, more knowledge, more perspectives. Only good things can come from it. So if you are someone who's sort of felt a little bit insecure about this and kind of hold on to your knowledge, then I hope that I've convinced you to give it a shot. I mean, it's not like you've only got one piece of knowledge, right? What would happen if you shared a couple of bits? See what happens. Test it. See if I'm just making all of this stuff up. Test it and see what happens. If you're part of a community, why not, straight after this episode, go in and write a couple of paragraphs about something that's really helping you to progress and see what happens. Try it. What are you going to lose? So I'd love to hear from you about this. Do hit me up with a DM on Instagram at @IamKeithMills. Is this something that's got in the way for you? Something that's been a bit of an issue? Or is this something that you've overcome? You've shared music? Or have you always been a sharer of music? What benefits have come your way? What's your experience in this area? Show notes, as always, on the website, finishmoremusic.com/162. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Something's resonated with you and will help you to move forward to your own version of success. Do take care. Until next time, happy music making.